Gyokuro Green Tea, the all-around health boost that science approves of. Today, are talking about the finest and most refined tea ever produced. Gyokuro is the leaf tea that hails from Japan, so rare and unique that it was at one point only fit for the emperor and his household. And it's not just costly because of its kingly taste. This is an exceptionally unusual plant to propagate and process. There is nothing else to compare it with, so let's take a dive into this remarkable tea and the fabulous health benefit it brings alongside its delectable flavor profile. In 1835, a tea merchant by the name of Yamamoto Kai was traveling around Japan to meet with all of the tea farmers the country had to offer. He was initially hoping to extend supply chains, but his travels would instead lead to the discovery of an entirely new tea that farmers in the colder districts of Japan had unknowingly been cultivating, possibly for hundreds of years at that point. As winter was approaching, farmers would make nets from grasses to cover their precious harvests. Keeping them protected from the first frosts extended their life for as long as possible before the winter set in completely. Kai noticed that these tea leaves had been shaded from sunlight and frost had developed some interesting attributes. The leaves produced a sticky green substance on the surface of the leaves, and they were also a lighter shade of green than other sencha tea plants that were not covered in this way. And they tasted profoundly different than sencha usually did. The tea no longer had the bitterness that every other tea was known for. Instead, it was sweet and almost savory. It did not taste like any kind of sencha he had ever had before. Deep, rich, and much lighter in color than green tea was supposed to be, Yamamoto Kai was so impressed that he put this new find on the market immediately. It quickly became a staple in the emperor's palace and was so rare and expensive that only nobles could afford it. Though Kai did not know it at the time, a remarkable chemical process had taken place. The farmers, in an effort to extend the life of their tea fields, had cut off most of the sunlight to the plants with their protective nets. The bitter taste in tea that we have come to love is created because the plant creates catechins. Catechins are the plant's natural protection from UV light. However, once the UV light was removed, the plants no longer produced these bitter catechins, allowing for the sweet and rich undertones to shine. Catechins also make the leaves darker, and without them present, the leaves turn a pleasant light green color. Kai called this new version of tea Gyokuro. Gyokuro means jade dew, or jewel's dew, due to its vivid bright green coloring. But more changes were happening than just flavor and color. From a chemical standpoint, Gyokuro tea has an absolutely unique makeup. Green tea has been through extensive testing in the past. Since Japan boasts some of the highest life expectancy rates, scientists have been looking at the country's diets, climate, and yes, its tea, to find answers to the population's impressive centuron rates. And every single time green tea delivers in spades: cholesterol, liver health, diabetes, depression, and the reduction of fatty buildup around the heart and the arteries that surround the vital organ. All of these conditions can benefit from more green tea consumption, and Gyokuro takes the gold in just about every single study. Gyokuro takes the benefits of green tea to a whole other level. For one, the lack of catechins also allowed the plant to retain more of its health-boosting L-theanine components. L-theanine has been proven to increase glycine, dopamine, and serotonin levels in the body, giving a definite and natural boost to mental well-being. Another component of green tea is the polyphenols it contains. It's been proven time and time again that the polyphenols in green teas directly combat the enzymes that cancer cells need to grow. According to these 2016 studies, Gyokuro came out right at the very top when it was compared to every other green tea on the market. Gyokuro is also higher than usual in caffeine. Only the youngest and most tender leaves of the plant are used to make this lavish drink. Since caffeine is a natural insect repellent, the plant makes sure that the younger and more vulnerable leaves get a little more caffeine than the rest of the plant. Combined with the calming effect that the L-theanine brings, it delivers more alertness and focus without the jitteriness that coffee usually brings about. The L-theanine also contradicts the inevitable caffeine crash that you'll get from regular coffee, and it doesn't stain your teeth like coffee does. Even with its higher caffeine content, the professionals agree that you can have as many as 6 cups a day without overdoing it. Gyokuro is brewed from the dried leaf and at a slightly lower temperature than regular tea would be brewed. Take your kettle off the heat before it reaches a boil. Once it starts to produce a little steam from the spout, and it should be around 140 or Fahrenheit or 60 Celsius, that will steep in that warm water for a full 2 minutes, slowly releasing its flavor into the water. Any more time and it might start to leach some of that bitterness that we usually associate with other teas into your brew. After you've had your first cup, you can reuse those open ripened leaves and brew at least 2 more cups from them that have the same potency and flavor. They only have to be steeped for 1 minute after the first round. You can just make a facial mask from your leaves too. Add some dried leaves to a shallow bowl and add just enough warm water to soak the leaves in. Once the water has cooled down enough, grind them down into a paste. It might still be too watery to stay firm on the skin, but by soaking a cotton swab into the mixture, you can rub it on beneath your eyes and cheeks. There are no studies to validate its anti-aging effects, but Gyokuro is high in antioxidants, so there might very well be some credence to its revitalizing properties after all. Growing tea is not suitable for a raised bed or a simple garden patch. It's very much a specialized field, or at the very least one to take on for the pure love of it. Green teas don't do well in humid or tropical areas, nor do they like hot or dry conditions, but you certainly can recreate the ideal conditions in a ventilated and cooled greenhouse or indoor setup. And even after you can get it to grow, it's the specific steps in the final month of Gyokuro's growth cycle that create the very specific conditions that it needs to complete that chemical process. Farmers start by placing loosely woven teepees of grass or netting over the rows 20 days before harvest. At first, they only reduce sunlight by 70%. After a week, they take away even more light, and finally, 1 week before harvest, they cut out sunlight by 90%. The process is slow for a reason. Not only does it allow the chemical change to happen gradually, but it also places the plant under stress, just enough for it to send as much stored nutrients into its foliage, but not so much strain that it dies. Get the timing and temperature even slightly off, and they'll just give up and die on you. And if you do manage to get a harvest, processing it is a whole different matter in and of itself. Only the highest quality leaves are selected, and when they are picked from the plant, farmers have to move quickly. If they are left too long of the plant, they start this oxidation process and the leaves are too bitter to sell. So they are immediately steamed to stop oxidation from taking place. Then the leaves are rolled into tight little tubes and finally set out to dry. So what do you think? Are you brave enough to attempt growing Gyokuro tea? Or will you, like us, instead find it at your local market? And if you've had it before, how did you like its robust, brothy flavor? We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to hit that like button and share this with other tea lovers. Disclaimer: I am not a medical doctor. If you are on chronic medication, pregnant, or suffering from any health condition, please consult a medical professional. I am here to relay my own thoughts and opinions. My videos are entirely based on my own research and experiences.